He's an introvert, interviewing strangers from the internet, knocking down the walls of his comfort zone, one conversation at a time. This is the Gary Cantrell Podcast.
The Gary Cantrell Podcast, April 15th, 2020. How's it going, everybody? Thank you so much for joining me for another week. I do appreciate it. This week on the show, we're going to be talking to Danielle, who I recently met on Instagram, and I'm very excited to hear her story. But before we get started, let me tell you quickly about my Patreon podcast producers, Caitlin at Caitlin Elise, that is 3 Y's in her name, Vanessa at Vanessa Ray's Journey, Amanda at Mutts_and_Miles, and Morgan at DDPY Mama. Patreon is a website that allows me to give you the option to donate to the show, and in return, I get to give you cool perks like downloading the show 5 days early before everybody else. So if you're listening to me right now on a Wednesday, tomorrow or 2 days from now on Friday, you could be listening to next week's show, and every week thereafter, you get the show before anybody else. You get your own RSS feed, you get a higher quality MP3 bit rate, you get 25% off the Hard Work Always Wins merchandise store. I mean, really, folks, it's a great deal. Jump on for a month, patreon.com/Gary Cantrell. Try it out. If it's not for you, there's no long-term agreement. You can cancel at any time, but give it a look, see if it works for you, and you can help out the show at the same time. Also, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, whatever you call it these days. If you have a Mac, a phone, iPhone, iPad, or even that old PC from the mid-2000s that has iTunes on it, I guarantee you can go over to the podcast portion of any of those devices, look up the Gary Cantrell Podcast, and leave a review. It really helps us out within the Apple algorithm. They're very particular about that. So if you would take a moment and just leave a quick little review, a couple sentences. What do you like about the show? What does it do for you? Why should somebody listen? That kind of stuff. 5 stars, of course. All right, let's go ahead and get Danielle on the line here. I'm excited to talk to her for the very first time and see what she's all about. So let's do this.
Hello.
Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I just got home and getting settled in. How's your day going so far?
It is not going too bad. I cannot complain. It's been a pretty chill day.
A pretty chill day. Now, what part of the country are you in right now?
I'm in Florida.
Oh, man, you're living the life.
No, I'm not.
Oh, come on. Florida is very nice.
No, I am born and raised in Florida, and I despise it.
You despise Florida?
I do.
But why?
I hate the heat. You would think that I'd be used to it since it's all I've ever known. But every time summer starts to roll around, I'm like, why do I do this to myself?
Well, you guys do have a lot of heat down there, to be fair.
Yeah, and so many bugs. And then love bug season comes, and why do I do this to myself? And
now, are you on the East Coast, the West Coast, the South, the Central? Like, where in Florida? I mean, you don't have to say the exact city, but whereabouts in Florida?
I'm over on the West Coast.
Over on the West Coast. I'm going to be in that general area in April. Down in Tampa, they're having WrestleMania, and I'm going to be traveling there.
Oh, yes. Yep, that's not far from me.
Ah, I see.
Yep, I'm like 45 minutes from Tampa.
Oh, well, there you go. I think
you're really close.
I think where I'm staying is going to be about 45 minutes from Tampa.
Oh, cool.
Something like that. My buddy and I, we were like, we need to try to stay somewhere where it's like outside of Tampa to, save a few bucks, because inside of Tampa, it's really expensive.
It's just ridiculous.
I know, right? It's crazy. Now, did you grow up in Florida? Like, you've been there all your life?
My whole life, born and raised.
Same area, or did you move around a little bit?
I mean, I moved around a little bit, but it's called Crystal River.
Okay.
which is like 30 minutes from where I live now. And then after high school, I moved up to the Jacksonville area for a little bit.
Okay, yeah.
And then back down to where I am now. So same general areas. Jacksonville was my biggest jump, but nothing crazy.
Yeah, I got some family in Jacksonville. I've not made it down there to see them yet, but I have been through Jacksonville. I visited Orlando. I visited Tampa. I visited Ocala. My wife's grandmother lives in Ocala. So I've definitely seen parts of Florida. I remember going to Cocoa Beach as a kid. 1 year on Christmas, we were in Cocoa Beach. Like, how cool is that?
Yeah, no, Cocoa Beach is fun. I will say that. We used to vacation there a lot. It's a lot of fun. That's the only good thing is we do have some pretty beaches, but that's about it.
I mean, I've been to Clearwater, and I enjoyed my time there. I only went there like one time. It was literally one day. I was in Tampa all of 2 days, and the second day I had stuff going on. So the first day I was there, I took my wife, and we went over to Clearwater, and that was pretty nice, I thought.
Yeah, my grandma is actually in Clearwater.
Okay.
Yep. So it's, you've just kind of bounced all around me here.
I really have. I mean, I do like Florida. I live in Virginia, but South Carolina has my heart fully. I want to live there. I want to live in the Charleston area. I think it's a beautiful area, but I've definitely come to Florida many times, and every time I've been there, it's always been a blast. So I don't know why you don't like it so much other than the heat.
I will say it's a fun state to visit for little short bursts of time.
Yes.
But I don't know how I do it either. It's funny that you say that. You said South Carolina has your heart.
Yes, 100%.
North Carolina has mine.
North Carolina. Now, what's the connection to North Carolina?
My dad, born and raised in North Carolina, all his family's in North Carolina.
There you go.
So that was like our family vacations all the time. And the Raleigh area, I'm just like, when I think of home, that's what I think of.
Yeah. I've been through there.
Really weird. But yeah, so I'm like, oh, I just love it there.
Well, I guess the other interesting thing about Florida is all the wild news articles that come out of there. I would imagine like your newspapers and your television news is probably very interesting considering what a lot of us non-Florida people read on the internet.
Listen, Florida man is alive and well.
I heard they even started like a Florida man radio or something. Like there's all kinds of Florida man stuff happening down there.
I wouldn't doubt it. It's a mess down here.
So do you have like a goal, like an escape plan to get to North Carolina, or are you content, staying in Florida?
No, if we were going to move, it's hard for me because I've been in one place essentially my whole life,
yes,
to think of moving somewhere else. And if I was going to do it, I would have wanted to do it before my son started school.
Yeah.
So now that he's in school and he's making friendships and he's, playing football and he's got those connections, I'm like, I can't uproot him.
Yeah. I guess once how old is your son?
He'll be 7 next week.
Oh yeah. So you're getting in that spot where, he's in that age now where he's, I mean, it comes before 7, I think, but where you really start remembering stuff and you start really kind of, calling a place home and kind of knowing what's going on around you.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, my husband's like, no, he's young enough. He can still make friends, which I'm sure he can. He's a very sweet kid, but I'm like, oh, no, what if he doesn't? I don't want to have to beat little kids up.
Well, if you make a run for it now, I don't know, you might be able to pull it off, but you'd probably have to go now.
You never know. Okay, when I start packing my suitcase later, I'll be like, Gary told me to do it.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I can imagine this conversation. Hey, honey, how was your day? Oh, it was pretty cool. I got on this podcast with this random guy from Instagram, and he told me that we should pack our bags and uproot our entire family 800 miles to North Carolina.
It's cool. That's totally normal, right?
Of course it is. Yes.
Obviously. That's all I've done in my life is normal stuff. So that's right on par.
Exactly. And how long have you been married?
How long have I been married?
Oh boy, are we that far in where you don't even know?
7 years, something like that. We
Okay.
got married when I got right out of high school. So I've been married since I was 18.
Okay, youngin, I gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, like 7 years, something like that.
Okay, I'm trying to do the math in my head. That's 2013 or 2014?
So 2012 is when we got married.
Ah, there we go. 2012.
So
I got married in 2015, so I'm not too far behind you.
no, you're right there behind us.
Just significantly older, although the wife is younger. Do you guys have like a big age difference in your marriage?
4-year age difference, so not huge.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I have a 8-year, or
An 8.
as she puts it, 7 years, like 8 months or something like that.
Oh, how'd you two meet?
It was at a concert. So I used to play in bands. I was one of those like emo punk rock guys. And
Cool.
she would come to the shows to see various local bands. And I was one of those bands. And so, we saw each other at shows. Now, the part that I should include, I have mentioned this before, so it's not a secret to some of the listeners. I was married at the time, and I will swear up and down that I never did anything with my now wife. We literally just talked, but there was definitely a seed planted there, I would say, because a couple of years later I would get separated. And who was there about a month or two afterwards? It was her. And from there, we were you couldn't pull us apart.
Oh, that's actually really sweet. You know what? Life always has its own plans going on.
That is true. And now we can't wait to get rid of each other.
Yeah, no, right? Like, don't you have to like go to work for 2 weeks? Bye.
Yeah, get out of here. It's funny how that works out though, right? Like you get, like when a relationship is new, and first of all, I guess I should ask, how long did you guys date before you got married?
About a year.
Okay. All right. So fair enough. So you kind of get in that spot where you just start dating and you can't imagine like time apart from this person. Like, you know, your entire life becomes this person. You're on the phone for hours on a day with this person. Or if you're like local, you're spending a lot of your time with this person, and then you get married and all this good stuff. And then now you're just like ready to get rid of each other.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. It's the second he leaves though, I'm like, oh, I kind of miss him now. But then he comes back and does something and I'm like, okay, bye.
Yeah. He forgot to take out the trash or something like that.
Yeah. I like ask him and 10 seconds later, the trash isn't taken out. So I'm like, are you serious?
Hey, you ladies got to go easy on us guys. Like, we heard you the first time. It's coming. I promise. It may just be like 20 minutes after you asked, but it's going to happen.
10 seconds is my maximum wait time.
10 seconds, man. You are demanding.
No, I'm just kidding. Kind of. I'm kind of kidding.
Kind of. It's 30 seconds, hon. 1 minute. It's fine.
30 seconds to a minute. If it's not done in that time, I'm just going to huff and puff and do it myself.
Yes. What a hell of a grace period, by the way. 30 seconds to a minute. You're so generous.
I know, right?
Oh my God. Yeah. She'll ask me, hey, can you go take out the dog, or can you, do the trash or something? I'm like, yeah, 1 second. The problem is that, my mind strays somewhere else. Like the TV's on and I see something. Oh yeah. Just in a minute, 5 minutes goes by, 10 minutes goes by. Hey, did you not hear what I said? It's like, no, I heard you. I promise. I just literally just forgot. I'm sorry.
She's much nicer than I am. See, with him, though, it's video games. And then sometimes he'll try to be like, oh, I had my headphones on. And I'm like, I could see one of your ears while I was asking you. I know at least one of those heard me.
Oh, my goodness. One of the video game guys, huh?
Oh, he is. Yes.
How do you pull him off that thing?
Well, as soon as I learn how to, I'll let you know.
Oh, so you still have not got him away from these things?
No. If anybody has any tips or tricks, other than just tossing it out a window.
Well, I have a great tip. It's called I suck at video games. So I usually get frustrated and I'm done with them after about 10 minutes usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't mind. There's some of them that I can like really get into. Like me and him used to play WoW together, World of Warcraft on the computer on PC.
Yeah.
So like we used to play that together and stuff, but I don't know. I guess I kind of just like grew out of my phase of that, and he is definitely still very much a video game person.
Now, is he an Xbox guy, a PlayStation guy, or like a PC guy?
He's mostly PS4 now.
Okay.
Like 2K20 owns his life currently. He may have sold his soul to them. I'm still researching it.
Now 2K, that's the sporting games. Which game is he currently got in heavy rotation?
Yeah, that's basketball.
Ah, okay, the basketball. Yeah, I tried that. I stunk at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried to too, because he was like, hey, just give it a shot. And I kept fouling, and I couldn't figure out how to like dribble, and then I couldn't make any of the shots, and I was like, all right, I'm done.
It's tough though, because you see these games and they're getting better and better and better, the graphics and the gameplay. But the main problem is it's like if you can't play, it doesn't become fun. You just want to throw the controller right through the damn window. And it sounds like in this case, because he's always on it, you want to throw it out anyway. So it's just like, what the hell? You got to get away from this thing.
Yeah, unless I'm playing like the old school games, like if you break out my like Nintendo 64, and we get on some like Diddy Kong Racing, like I'm all about that.
Now you're talking.
Yes, like that's my niche. I can do that. But all this new stuff, I just don't have the hand-eye coordination for it.
Right.
And I just end up frustrated. I don't have time for that.
Now, does he like the classics? Will he bust out the classics with you, so y'all can play some games together, or?
He will, but he like loses interest in them so fast. Whereas like we were like total opposites that way. He likes all the new games and the graphics and the pretty stuff, which is, it is cool. They look really awesome now, but I like kicking it old school.
No, I'm with you. I think that is the biggest problem with some of the old stuff is like now we're so conditioned to these new games. They're so immersive, the graphics, the gameplay. And so the old stuff, while it's cool and like we get in the mood, like, oh yeah, I'm going to fire this up. You lose interest so fast because it's so basic. Like it could be just like a 2D side scroller, and you're just like, okay, how many times is Mario going to jump over this stupid pipe, and then you jump over the Goomba and you throw a little fireball? Okay, we got it. Just
yeah.
But it's fun. I mean, I totally get it. But like, like I'll once in a while I'll jump on my Xbox, and I've had people that have jumped in my DMs. They hear me say this and they'll make fun of me because I'm still playing Grand Theft Auto 5, which is like a 5 or 6 year old game. But I mean, you can literally go on there for hours and just do silly stuff like, because Grand Theft Auto is known for like jacking cars and shooting people. But like, I like to do non-harmful things. Like I like to hijack a city bus and like block 4 lanes of freeway traffic and watch the traffic build up for a few miles. Like I like to do stuff that doesn't actually harm people in the game. It's kind of fun.
I feel like in some sense that could be harmful, but we actually play that a lot too.
Yeah.
That is one that I do enjoy, but I'm the polar opposite.
No, okay, so
I'm
all
just
right.
like a mess.
Hold on. Okay, now you've piqued my interest here, so indulge me if you will. So you will go in there and you're like a mass murderer.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'll steal the nicest car I can find, and I will just plow the sidewalk.
Okay, all right. I see you.
I'm like shooting out of. I'm sorry, everybody, but it's just fun. I'm like shooting out of the car, so it's fun.
I never shoot out of the car because I'm terrible with driving it, but I will absolutely run over people. Like I'll go to like that fancy district where like they have the movie theater outside and just plow through that entire sidewalk because it's always like crowded at night. It's got like a really nice nightlife. Or, you find the prostitutes and you get your service and then you get your money back. Like you just pop them in the head with a gun. Like, my God, somebody's going to be playing this audio in 10 years. Like, what the hell? But
what were they playing?
Yeah. But I mean, these are things you can do in Grand Theft Auto. It's silly. I don't know. But yeah, I could get on that game for hours and just play and play and play and never get bored.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm like that with GTA and also Sims. I'm like that in The Sims too.
Okay, yeah.
I make these little families, and then I I don't know, maybe I'm just a sick person. I just like to kill them off.
Wow.
I like to like trap them in the pool and like they like end up drowning or they like die of starvation, and then the Grim Reaper comes for them. And
good Lord.
I just, whatever. It's what I do in my spare time.
Now, what does your husband make of all this? Is he like co-signing on the mass murder, or is he like, yo, babe, chill out with this a little bit? Like, what are you doing?
Nah, he's like, get him, babe, get him.
Oh, so he's all about it. He's like your ride or die. He's cheering you on. Okay, all right. Well, that's good.
He's my hype man.
He's your hype man. I like that. So sometimes you guys play games together. What other kind of things do you guys like do together? Do you have like, some unique interests that you have other than some of the video games?
No, we are so boring, honestly. We are like such a run-of-the-mill, like, normal couple.
You guys just sit around and hang out?
Yeah, like, that's pretty much what we do. He plays video games. Like, video games are his thing. Netflix is my thing. And, then we just life in between that. But there's nothing special going on.
That Netflix is dangerous, by the way.
It is so dangerous.
Because my wife, she loves the Netflix, and she'll lay in bed for hours and just watch show after show. Now, once in a while, it happens to me like a show like You, or, one of these shows that you can just binge like crazy. I'll pick like a Sunday when I really don't want to do anything, and that'll be like my day, and I'll sit in there and watch that show all freaking day until I finish it. And the Netflix, that can definitely be dangerous. What would you say something recently that you saw that really got your interest?
We are all about The Witcher.
The Witcher. I've heard of this thing, but I've not seen it.
Oh, you've got to check it out. It is so awesome. I guess that you haven't, but there's a book series and then there's a video game series. It definitely follows more of the book series than it does the video games, in my opinion. But I never played the video games, so that's just research based.
Yeah.
But it's such a good show. Oh, it was so good.
And by research, you're like, I'm on Google and I'm searching everything I can possibly find on this show.
Indeed.
Except for spoilers until you finish it. And then I always like on the last episode, after I'm finished, I rush to like Reddit or somewhere to read up like, okay, what did everybody think about this? Like, oh my God, it's just like a big freak out.
Yes. Now, what if I told you I'm someone who may or may not read spoilers ahead of time?
You're kidding.
I would say it's my biggest character flaw.
Okay, but do you forget as you're watching the show like what happens, or do you have it like laser focused? Oh my God, I know that it's going to happen.
I know it's going to happen. I only do it if like there's something in the show going on that I'm like, do I need to like prepare myself for this? Like if something looks like it's going to die, I get so like emotionally attached to book characters and TV show characters.
Yes.
So I'm always like, so I'll research something and I'll see. And I'm like, okay, so I know whether or not I need to have the tissues with me.
Yeah. No, you know what really like fucked me up really bad was 13 Reasons Why. When I first saw that show like really like messed with my head, something fierce, because it was so intense and everything that happened was like very believable. Like you could imagine this happening, and I'm sure that these kind of things do happen. But it's just like watching a show, and especially Netflix when they do these shows and they're so like relatable and the stories get so intense, you just get so emotionally invested in the characters that when the bad stuff happens, you're just like, oh my God, like this is intense. I don't know how much of this I can actually watch.
Yes, exactly. I haven't even watched the newest season yet. 13 Reasons is another one that I love, but I haven't even watched the newest season yet because of the way the last one ended.
Yeah.
It was just like, I mean, I love them so much for bringing that out into the public eye because stuff like that does happen all the time.
Yes.
And bringing focus to it, but it's just so hard to see. And I was like, okay, I gotta wait until like I'm in a good mental headspace myself before I take that on.
Yeah, I will warn you, and because you read spoilers, and I'm not going to give any major plot points, but because you read stuff online, I don't think I'm speaking out of turn. But they have like this one woman on there in the second season who's like the main narrator lady, and she is just insufferable. Like I cannot deal with her. Like I don't think it's like she has an accent that doesn't really bother me. It's just like the way she says the stuff she says. It's just like, okay, we get it. It's just bad. So be forewarned. If matter of fact, like I remember when I finished watching season 2, like if you would type in like 13 Reasons Why season 2 space, and then like you started to type that character's name, like all these pages came up, people just like bashing her. Now, the flip side of that is like, you know, all these people were like legitimately being mean to her, like on Twitter and stuff, which is completely unacceptable. But I'm just like, yeah, people online are the worst. This is what I'm realizing now. But then you get conversations like we're having, and this is not so bad, but there are people that online that are just, I don't know. I don't know what they do with their time, where they just filled with so much hate. I don't understand it.
I mean, honestly, that's it. Like, and I will say, like, so far my experience, because I like bounced back and forth with creating like an Instagram that was geared just towards like my weight loss journey forever, because I was like, ugh, people online are terrible. Like, they're just mean and they're hurtful and they're behind a keyboard and they think they can say anything they want. And I had already kind of had those experiences because I used to work customer service for a major vitamin company.
Right.
And I worked from home. So it was all phone call based and email based. And like, it's amazing what people will say to you on a phone when they can't see your face.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's just, I was like, I don't know, like if I'm ready for that, but I finally did it. And you know what? Like, every single person I've encountered so far has been like amazing. So
yeah, that's the
they're
thing.
not all terrible, but the majority of the internet is just a bad place.
No, I definitely understand. I would say stay off of Reddit if at all possible, because that place gets pretty toxic really quick. But no, Instagram it's cool. You know, when you meet people and you all can kind of support each other and you start a conversation. Like, how did you decide to yourself, like, I want to make a page centered around my health efforts? Like, when did you decide that? That's part one of the question. And then part two is, how do you find this particular community that we are all associated with?
So I think I would say I started thinking about it about a year ago. And then in about August, July of last year, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I was like, I know that there's a lot of pages out like that geared towards that. I wanted to have a place where I could have a lot of like the fitness accounts that I follow in one place.
Right.
So that was my main thing for doing it. So I was like, you know what? If nothing else, I'll just create this one so I can follow all my fitness accounts and they're in one place and I can just pop to that Instagram. It'll be really easy.
Yes.
And then I was like, you know what? I found that seeing all of that kind of motivated me and pushed me. And I was like, well, maybe I could do that for somebody.
Definitely.
Or, you know, just kind of chronicle what I'm going through in one place, if nothing else, for me to look back on.
And that's
so that's kind of what pushed me to do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is so important, is because where you're at right now, whether you believe it or not, is somebody else's goal. Like, they're like, oh man, she has such goals. Like, yes, girl. Like, you know, they like you posting the pictures and sharing your story. Somebody is inspired by where you're at right now.
And, you know, that's like really cool to think of. Honestly, I know that you inspire me. There are so many people in this community who like absolutely inspire me. So I just want to be able, if someone else is sitting around like me, like, oh, I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I want to put that out there. Like, yes, you can. It doesn't matter what people say. Doesn't matter what people think of you. It only matters how you feel about what you're doing.
Oh, definitely. And so as you're kind of getting into sharing your journey, like how are you finding, are you just like searching like hashtags, or you just start searching like weight loss? Like, how do you find these people?
Yeah. So, a lot of mine, what I do is like, I'll stumble across a page, like maybe I'll search like the hashtag weight loss, and I'll stumble across a page. And then as I'm going through their page, I have this habit of like clicking on people's names in the comments.
Oh
And
yeah.
like I'll
Okay.
start scrolling their page, and I'm like, oh, I like what they're doing. They seem like, they're where I want to be, or focus on the same things as me. And so then I'll follow, and then I somehow end up this rabbit hole of then I click on a comment on their page. So that's how I find a lot of people that I find. I think that's how I found most everybody that I have right now, which is like a rabbit hole.
That reminds me of back when I was in bands. Like the way I would find new bands in the pre MySpace, pre Facebook era was I would buy a CD of a band that I liked, and I'd look in the thank you notes and see the bands that they thanked. And then I would go search those bands, and that's how I would find them. It sounds very similar, although they're two different things. So that just reminded me of that. And that goes to show all of you listening out there, the ones that are out there trying to get their page to blow up and become famous and all this stuff. You comment on other people's stuff, and people like her see you, and they want to strike up a conversation. They want to follow you. So instead of going out and buying fake followers and trying to get Insta famous, bro, you gotta go out. You gotta get out there and get your name out there so people can find you.
Please stop paying fake accounts for followers.
Oh my God. Well, the funny, here's the thing. I will tell you this about, let's see, 2013, as an experiment, I was on Twitter and I bought followers. And what I noticed was that the only thing it was beneficial for at the time, I did internet radio, which was very similar to what I'm doing here, only it was live. And so the vanity metric of having, I think I had like 120,000 followers, about probably 110,000 of those were fake. So I had about 10,000 real followers. And I went on there and, I would reach out to notable names in the industry I was in, which at the time was pro wrestling. And I would, send them a tweet like, hey, come on my show. And they would look at my page. Oh my God, he has 120,000. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely come on your show. And like, they didn't know that I realistically only had 10. And it was just a way to get your name out there. And I think that a lot of people, they're trying to carry that over to Instagram and trying to get their name out there. But what they don't realize is that people nowadays, compared to back then, are a lot more smart, and they'll look at, okay, yeah, he's got 30, 40,000 followers, but he's got like 20 to 30 likes on a photo, maybe one comment or two comments, and people can see through that really easily.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So it's very transparent. So it's not really worth it to buy the followers. Because also here's the other thing a lot of people don't realize, is that when, the more fake followers you have, so Instagram, when you post something like, you go on there and you post a meme or a picture, whatever you're going to post, it will show it to about 10% of the people that you follow. So let's just say you had 0 followers, you bought 100,000 followers. It's going to show it to 10,000 basically followers that don't exist, because they're fake accounts, they're bots. They're not going to like your photo because they're not real. And so as a result of that, the less engagement it gets, they will not show your post to more people. Whereas if you have genuine followers, let's just say 1,000 real followers, it's going to show it to 100 people first. And then those 100 people, because of course they're real, maybe 30 or 40 of them will like the photo. You might get 2 or 3 comments, because that's just kind of how Instagram works.
Yep.
Excuse me. And then they will show it to more people and expose it to more of your audience. I don't know why it doesn't show it to everybody at once, but that's just how it works. That's how you play the game, apparently.
Instagram has its own agenda.
Yeah. And it's kind of turning people into like, they're trying to get famous and they're trying to game the system, and it just doesn't work. Like, I am the type where I just like these genuine interactions. Like you and I couldn't tell you exactly the day or moment that we got linked up, but I will say that I asked you to come on the podcast. You have come on. We're now having a real, genuine conversation, and this is the kind of stuff that I live for right here, is the real, genuine conversation.
Yes, I'm the same exact way. Like, I have very little patience or tolerance for people who are just out to sell stuff or try and get you to join stuff on Instagram.
Oh my God. Yes.
So like I am on there to find actual people and make connections, just like you were saying, just like this. You know, we commented and liked each other's pictures back and forth a few times. We chatted a little bit. You were like, hey, someone recommended you for the podcast. I was like, oh, I don't know. And you were like, you should do it. It's cool. And I was like, you know what? I will.
We're half an hour in. It's not so bad, right?
It's really not. It's not. I'm not going to lie. That phone started ringing and I started shaking.
I noticed it took a while for you to pick up, and that's okay. I get it.
Sorry, guys.
And then everybody thinks that they're not interesting. And then we get on here and look at all this organic conversation that we've had in the last half an hour plus. Like, it's just, it's free flowing. It's fun. It's engaging, and people can relate to this stuff. Even if we were just talking about Netflix and video gaming, that's the other thing too. Cause you know, the weight loss, you know, we're definitely going to talk about this stuff, but I've kind of gotten in a place now where I just like to, like, you know, my whole gimmick, or I don't want to say gimmick necessarily, but the whole thing was I'd get you on the phone. I'm like, all right, tell me about your weight gain. All right, tell me about your weight loss. And it's like, all right, this shit just gets kind of boring after a while. I'm like, all right, now let's just figure out like what each other's all about. And then like usually by the halfway point, then we start getting into the meat of the conversation, and then the weight loss and all that stuff just comes naturally. That's what I've noticed. And I've been doing these now since September of 2017. It's when I started interviewing people from Instagram.
Wow.
And it's evolved over time, which has been good. But I just like these natural conversations that just flow. There's not a particular purpose necessarily, but we seem to get all the stuff in.
Yes, and I love that. I think it was actually a podcast that maybe you and Daryl had done.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not going to lie, because I listen to some of Daryl's podcasts. There's a lot of them.
Oh, yes. You're telling me.
I know, but I think it was one that you and him had done. I think, don't beat me up if I'm wrong, about like content that you put out on Instagram and whatnot.
Yes.
And I think it was you who was saying something about how you like to see more of people's actual lives.
Yes.
And I'm the same way. Like, that's what makes me, like, I love seeing your weight loss journey, but when I find other things that we connect on in real life, and I see that you have an actual life behind your weight loss, like, that just makes me cheer you on even harder for me.
No, definitely. I wish that more people posted about their everyday life. And I get it. You know, there are a lot of people that, you know, they're already nervous enough sharing the fitness stuff, so they can't imagine sharing real life, and or they think that there's not much interesting to their life. But then there's this other section of people that are like, well, if I don't post the weight loss stuff, people are going to unfollow me and I'm going to lose followers and I'm not going to get famous and it's going to suck. And that's literally the mindset of a bunch of people. But I would say, and I know you've kind of got a newer Instagram, you've got 42 posts here on your page. And that's what I would encourage you or anybody else, like, you know, the stuff that you're comfortable sharing, obviously, you know, you're not going to divulge personal, like I don't need to know your bank account number or anything like that. But like, you know, you just share like parts of your everyday life. And I think it makes you more realistic. Like I know for a fact, okay, that like I'll post a transformation photo and it'll do 10 times better than if I post a picture of just me or me with my dog or like a screenshot of a song I'm listening to. Like that might get 20 likes if I'm lucky. But a transformation photo might get 500 likes if I'm lucky, and probably less now because of the way the algorithm is. But people, they're afraid to share their real stuff because like, oh, well, this is not going to get as many likes and I'm just not going to be famous. And I hate that. It drives me nuts. I'm just like, the whole point of us being on here is number one, to be social with people. And number two, to provide an authentic look at our lives, as much as we're comfortable with sharing. But I think a lot of people, we hear the frame highlight reel. A lot of people make it a highlight reel and they show you only the high spots, the good stuff and all that stuff. Like I did a podcast on Friday, where I talked about how I gained 30 pounds over the course of 2 years. Like that is, a lot of people might hide that stuff because they're only showing the highlights. And I'm like, no, I need to overexpose this. I need to put this on a podcast where thousands of people are going to hear this. So they know that this is a real thing that I'm going through. I did another one about some social media stuff that I was going through. And that was probably, some people would say, oh my God, I think you really shared a little bit too much. No, I'm sharing real life experiences. And that is, that's just kind of what I think is what you got to do is you got to put out the real life stuff.
Yeah. And the thing is, hey, maybe that is too much for you, but that's not too much for me. That's who I am. That's what I want to share. And I think that's what I've tried to focus on from like day one is I said, you know what, Danielle, if you're going to do this, you share what you want to share. You say whatever you want to say. Just be you, because anything that you get out of this from being anything but your authentic self isn't worth it.
Oh, 100%.
Then you just have to try and keep up whatever persona or personality that you've created for yourself. And I don't have the energy for that.
No, definitely not. Now, which side are you on? Because there are a lot of people that like maybe on Instagram, they're sharing a lot of stuff. But when it comes to like, like the Facebook, like when it comes to like family stuff, like they almost don't want them to know that they're on a weight loss journey. Are you one of those people that you kind of keep some of the weight loss stuff from your family, or do you share it with everybody?
No, I would actually say that I pretty much keep it to myself. A few of my family members and my friends have stumbled across my weight loss Instagram.
Right.
And I haven't stopped them from, following me on there. So I wouldn't say like I purposely keep it super secret and hidden, but I also don't openly talk about it like, with my friends or my parents right now my parents know, but they're not around. They live in Abu Dhabi right now.
Okay.
So like they know. So I talked to my mom about it. I talked to my dad about it. My dad and excuse me, sorry. My dad has actually really gotten into fitness the past year or so too. So when he was here home for Christmas, me and him were talking to each other and kind of comparing what we're doing. And so that was really nice to have him. But I would say the majority of people don't know that I'm focusing on bettering myself. I
see. Now, I guess the next question would be, and not in a confrontational type way, but more out of a curiosity way, why do you think that you prefer to kind of keep it close to the vest, so to speak?
I can tell you in all honesty, it's because I failed so many times.
Yes.
That I feel like if I keep it closer to myself this time, maybe I'll protect it better. Or if I feel like I fail again, at least only I and a few people know that I failed again. Yeah.
I totally get that. Yeah.
I can be totally honest in that and say it's a fear of failure.
Yeah. I know that so many times we fall and we get down, we get down, we get back up, we get down, we get back up. For me, my number was like 8. And I would say it's almost about to be 9 because I talked about how I gained 30 pounds over the course of 2 years, which doesn't really sound like a lot when you think about the time spread, but still it's kind of going back in the other direction. And it's like, it's more like, I don't know if failure is the right word for it. It's just like you're going through your life. You may see it as a failure, or I may see it as a failure if I mess something up. But in reality, we're just kind of dealing with life as it comes to us. And so there are things that happen in life that kind of take us off the path. And in my opinion, it's not that we fail. It's just that we kind of fall, like we veer off the trail a little bit, and we just got to kind of steer back onto that trail at our own pace. And, so I try to take words like the fail and that kind of stuff out of it, because I think to truly define failure would be to completely stop and never attempt ever again. And I'm going to guess, we're about to talk about it now, but I'm going to venture to guess that you probably have start and stopped multiple times, but the key is you're on it now. So you're still going on this path. It's not like you did it one time, let's just say 10 years ago, and you never tried again. Like, I'm going to guess you've been on and off this for a while.
I have, yeah. And I would say what you were just talking about has been the biggest thing that I'm focusing on and trying to work on.
Yes.
Is my mindset shift from, hey, listen, you're not failing. This is life. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. It's just keep pushing. So I would say that's my biggest thing. But I have, I sat down and I was like, you know what? When did I first start dieting? Air quotes, dieting.
Yeah.
Because when I first started, that's what I was doing. I think I tried every fad diet that was out there. And it almost broke my heart that I started dieting, when I was 13.
Wow. Okay.
So I was always really active in sports when I was younger. I did karate, I did softball, I did cheerleading.
Yeah.
So I was always super active. I did soccer, but I was always bigger. I've always been overweight. And I used to remember like going over to my grandma's house, and my cousins were real petite. And she would like offer my cousins like ice cream sandwiches or like little sweet treats or lollipops. And then me and my sister, she would be like, oh, do you guys want some cottage cheese? Or what about some cut up vegetables? And I always used to like, I can remember thinking like, well, how come I can't have an ice cream sandwich?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it started, the very first thing I remember doing is I used to try and go the whole entire day without eating. And then at dinner time, I would take just a few bites. And so I, from very early on, had super unhealthy habits with food, a super unhealthy relationship with food. So I went from one extreme to the other, where I wouldn't eat all day and then I'd have a few little bites, or I wouldn't eat all day and then I would eat everything in sight.
Yes. I definitely want to get into that. But before we get too far away from where we were, when you talk about, when you say I have this fear of failing, what in your mind is your specific, I think everybody has a different definition, but what to you is a definition of, oh, if this happens, I failed?
I think it's kind of always evolving with me. It used to be if I had one bad day, I failed. Okay. So that's kind of where I used to be at.
And what's a bad day? Are we talking like just the way you ate, or not working out, or like what would equal to a bad day?
Yeah. So what air quotes bad day for me used to be, I wouldn't work out. I would eat whatever I wanted to. I wouldn't count my calories or watch what I'm eating at all. I wouldn't have any type of physical activity that day. It would just kind of be like a lazy eat all day. If I had one of those, I used to beat myself up and I'd be like, oh my gosh, you're such a failure. You've done it again. Why can't you just stick to anything?
Right.
And that's definitely evolving now as I'm growing up and kind of learning my body more and learning more about what works for me and actual real life expectations.
Well, and you're also still very young too. I mean, you're 26, that it's on your bio, so I don't feel bad saying that. You're also very young, as well. And I say this like I'm some old man. I'm 38 later this year, by the way. But you know, I still think it's fair to say you've got a lot more kind of growing up to do in a sense. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense, but more from like a mental perspective.
Yes. Oh, and I could completely agree with you. Every day it's a little more.
Yeah, definitely. So So the old thought of failure was I wasn't working out, tracking calories, eating like crap. What does failure kind of mean to you like right now? What would be an accurate representation of a failure at this point in your life?
I think a current, what I would consider a failure now for me would be maybe just kind of completely falling off. And when I say completely falling off, I mean like maybe a week or more
Yes.
of kind of doing whatever I want, not paying attention to what I'm doing. And I think at that point now is when I would look at myself and go, wow, you failed again.
Yeah. I must say though, in this last couple minutes of getting different definitions of failures, I cannot emote properly how fucking proud I am that you didn't say anything about the scale. Cause, that is a big part. And a lot of people get wrapped up in that. And that has not come up once. And I'm like genuinely impressed. Now it's possible that would have come up, but, it has not come up once. I'm like, wow, this is interesting.
No. And I will say it used to hold such a power over me.
Yes.
And it's definitely something that I would have been upfront about. I used to step on the scale 4 or 5 times a day.
I see.
I mean, I used to be like, oh my gosh, what's going on? What's going on? In previous attempts at this, since I've really started this current journey that I'm on right now, this kind of better health, I don't honestly, I haven't really had an interest in the scale.
Right.
I feel like anytime I do step on it, I will still say that I would like to believe it doesn't have a power over me, but when I step on it, it does still give me a negative feeling.
Oh yeah.
So, I just go by how I feel, how I look, what I'm doing, and that's just what I've made my focus.
No, I love that. I think when it comes to the scale, it's that old saying, your mileage may vary, because everybody's going to have a different approach to it. I think there is a great percentage of people that have a very similar mindset towards it. I was actually one of these guys that talked a lot on my podcast before. Some of you may heard, some of you may not, about, the hell with the scale. You don't need the scale. I'm so anti-scale. In October, when I kind of recommitted to kind of just like tracking, which I had fallen off on for so long, I actually went the other way. I said, okay, you know what? I talk so much shit about the scale. What happens? How do I feel if I weigh in once a day? Which sounds crazy. And to a lot of people who are not emotionally ready for that scale, that can really mess them up. But what I found was, and again, your mileage may vary. I'm not encouraging anybody to drop whatever you're doing to try this, unless you're absolutely in a good, comfortable place. But I weigh myself once a day because I like to see how I eat spikes it up, like adding the water weight or the salt or whatever it is, like to watch the different peaks and valleys. Like, okay, I did X, Y, and Z for this week right here. And then my weight is at this point. And then on the weekends, I went buck wild and then it shot up to this. Or, oh, wow, I ate a bunch and it only spiked up 1. Sometimes it spikes up 5 pounds. It depends on what you eat, obviously, and how the water weight and all that stuff happens. But I look at it now like almost emotionless. I look at it as a data point because I'm also a tech geek. So like you talk about how you like your husband's a video game nerd. I'm kind of a tech nerd. And so like on my phone, like you have like the MyFitnessPal app. And so I like this idea that there are things that I enter into this app and I put in these different data points and it shows me, data. Like it's kind of like becomes this fun thing, much like we get on our phones and we're obsessed with Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I look at these apps now like that, where I've almost become like this relationship with it. We're like, oh, this is something cool to do. And I take the emotion out of it. And I realize that is not something that's easily done by everybody, but I think at some point people might come around to it perhaps.
Yeah. And I definitely think it's something, that people should work on, is taking the emotion out of it, realizing that it shouldn't have an emotional effect on you.
Right.
But it's not an easy thing to do. And I'm kind of the opposite of you. I can't use my Fitness Pal
Okay. What?
because I get so hyper focused and obsessed over what it's saying
I see.
that I start falling back into a negative pattern with myself.
You know what I will say about that? And this is something that anytime anybody ever asks me about it, or they say, I want to get started, but maybe I'm not quite ready to work out yet, or I'm not quite ready for the nutritional part of it. Cause there are some people, they're like, I'm not ready to work out, or I'm not ready to do the nutrition, or they might be, I'm not ready for either. And so what I've told people, is to download the app anyway. And, once you get in there, it asks you for like your age, your weight, and all that stuff. And then it sets recommendations. And I tell people, even if you have a shit day, enter in every single thing, because here's the reason why. After a month or 2 months or however you want to go with it, now you have a reference point. Now, because I think a lot of people, they look at it like, oh, I have to enter my food in here and it has to be perfect. It has to be just right. I say, no, the hell with that. Enter in everything. Like if you had 6 candy bars, put all 6 of them in there. And so you have this whole pattern of data that you can go back and reference. And from there, I think over time, it helps develop your mind where you're just like, okay, I see what I've done here. I'm not exactly proud of it. I've committed it to this app, or, committed it to paper if you want to write it down or whatever. But I think it really helps to kind of make your mind see, because I think we all have a certain bit of stubbornness to ourselves when it comes to like the fitness at times, or the nutritional aspect of it. I'm very stubborn with the nutritional aspect of it. That's my big stubbornness. And so, now, even though I still have days where I don't eat the greatest, I enter in all that stuff so I can watch it now. And then with the weight stuff, with looking at the scale, I can see, okay, well, guess what, Gary, you had this, and this, and as a result, this is what happened. And so it's all this data that I can point to now, like a nerd, where I can just go, oh, okay, let me look back at this week and kind of see where everything's at. And it just kind of puts a different perspective on things.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a super beneficial app. I don't think I'm at the point yet where I can function with it and keep myself in a healthy place.
Now, absolutely, we're like Planet Fitness here. We are a judgment-free zone, but I will ask you, how do you feel about your nutrition right now? Do you still feel like there's room to grow in that, or do you feel like you've kind of got a good handle on it?
Oh no, there is so much room to grow.
Yeah.
I used to think that, well, you can't do this until you know everything.
Yeah.
You have to eat perfectly. You have to know everything that you're supposed to be eating, and that's never going to happen.
Yes.
So I have just definitely gotten myself to a place where I take it day by day, and I'm like, okay, this seems to be working for me. Let's try this the next day. So definitely lots of room for improvement there. I have a major sweet tooth.
Yes.
So it's working and finding out, hey, what little tricks or substitutes can we use, or what can I do differently with my calories during the day so that I can afford my sweet tooth at night.
When you were younger and you were starting to put on weight, would you identify as like a really bad binge eater?
Yes.
Okay. How did you get into that kind of world? Like we all kind of have like a gateway, like maybe there's like a certain food or something that like kind of got us started. Like, do you remember where that was like becoming like a real big thing for you?
I don't really remember any like specific food that triggered it for me. But I do think that it really came down to the people and family members around me.
Yes.
And the way that as I got older, I started noticing the way that they were treating me. And like I mentioned earlier with my grandma, she would offer someone a nice sweet treat, and she would offer us a healthy snack.
Yeah.
And I think that I felt maybe deprived in a sense. And so I would start trying to get it wherever I could get it.
Yeah. You got to make up for that lost time.
Yes, exactly. So I think that I would say, be my biggest gateway, my biggest trigger, if you will, was just feeling like, oh, well, they said I can't have it, or they don't want me to have it, but I want it.
I think that's why it's so important. Like when people are like, there's going to be at least one person, I guarantee you, that's going to come across this particular podcast. And I'm going to say this in hopes that this changes their mindset, because if you come into this world where you're like, I want to start getting healthy, I want to start losing weight, but you're like, I'm going to ban this, and this. That is a no-win situation, because at some point you're going to want these things. And if you deprive yourself of it, the moment you let yourself back in with that stuff, you will binge eat it like you would not believe. And I can speak truth to that. I did a challenge in 2019 where I had no pizza, no chocolate, or no alcohol for the entire year. I can say that I still have not had any drinks. I just don't have any desire for it. The pizza I've had here and there since the beginning of the year, but the chocolate, I mean, I'm not going to say it's every day, but it's definitely at least once, twice a week where I'm having some chocolate, because I did not have it for an entire year. And that's why I think it's so important to not deprive yourself of any one thing. You know, maybe you can find a healthier alternative of it. Or one of my favorite life hacks is like, let's just say like you go hard on a bag of chips, right? So, on every food label, there's always this nutritional guide, and they show you the serving size. What I would do is, even if I was going to go hard on a bag of chips, when I buy a big bag of chips, I count out the serving size and I put them in little baggies, so that at least if I'm going to have a lot of chips, I know now exactly how many I had. Okay, well, I had, let's say one little bag is like 100 calories. That's the serving. Oh, well, I just had 3 of those little bags. So now I know at least how much is going in there. And that's probably my favorite hack. Or Hershey Kisses. I know that 7 Hershey Kisses equals to 140 calories. So if I'm trying to get that chocolate fix, I'm going to count out exactly 7 to get that 140 calorie serving.
Yep, I am the exact same way. Because I used to be able to sit there and take on a bag of chips mindlessly as I watch TV.
Yeah.
So I started doing that same thing, especially with pretzels. I love pretzels.
Okay. Yeah.
So I get little baggies, and I count them out. I count out a serving, and I do the same exact thing. So that way I know. And I write, because I throw the initial bag away, and I write on it how many calories is in a baggie.
Yes.
So I know if I eat that baggie, that's what I've got to track. That's what I'm eating for that. So, and I have noticed that makes a huge difference for me.
Oh, 100%. And by the way, before we get too far from it, when it comes to pretzels, how legit are Auntie Anne's pretzels?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's,
if you were going to Auntie Anne's right now, let's just say we were recording this podcast, walking around a mall, because that's usually where you only see them at, and we're walking up by an Auntie Anne's, and you said, I'm going to have an Auntie Anne's. What is your Auntie Anne's order? What do you like to get from them?
I'm getting just a classic salted pretzel with nacho cheese.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's good stuff right there. So once in a while, I will go for the cup filled with the bites that has the cinnamon sugar on it. I have snuck those into movies many a times in my hoodie pocket. And then other times it will be the one with the pepperoni and cheese on it.
Oh,
yeah,
that one's good.
That's a strong one right there. I would ask though, like when you were like at the height of your kind of like, binge eating and going hard, let's say, what did you have like a particular like go-to meal? Was it like a fast food place or like something that you would make where like this was your thing? Like when you're having a craving for food, this is like, for me, it was McDonald's and I'd go there every day. Like what was your kind of thing that you went for right away?
Macaroni and cheese.
Okay, now before you go any further with that, Danielle, this our friendship rides on this very answer.
Oh no!
Are we talking about the Kraft macaroni and cheese or the Velveeta shells and cheese?
Okay, I'm just talking good classic Kraft mac and cheese.
I'm looking for that hang up button right now. Where is it? How do I end this damn call?
I will say, as I got older and my taste buds evolved,
yes,
I definitely went to Velveeta. I can't do the powder cheese anymore.
yes.
But that was it for me. Actually, I don't know if you've ever had Cracker Barrel mac and cheese.
I have not.
Like in the boxes, like the Cracker Barrel cheese slices or whatever. They make a mac and cheese, and there's like a Vermont sharp cheddar.
Yeah.
That mac and cheese is my jam.
So is that better than the shells and cheese, though?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
It's good stuff.
Now, I've not actually had that, so I can't hang up the call on that because that's, to be fair, I've not had that, so I cannot outright say that one is better than the other. But the shells and cheese, that is my jam. And I think as kids, like, we're raised on the Kraft macaroni and cheese. Our parents are hardworking. They're trying to save a few bucks, and they go for the Kraft because it's cheap. And if they're really being cheap, it's the store brand because, you know, they're just trying to get the most bang for their buck. But the shells and cheese,
where they can.
exactly. And the shells and cheese, though, that, I mean, that's the gold standard, in my opinion. Like, I think that's the best one. I recently, because I'm like the worst cook, by the way. Like, I don't cook a whole lot. When I do, it's terrible. Yeah. But I watch these like YouTube videos. Like, there's this guy, Sam, the cooking guy, who I'm obsessed with. I'll never make any of the fancy stuff he makes, but it like gets my mind going, like, what if I did this with this? And so like one day I just bought like ground beef and I started mixing it in with the shells and the cheese. And that was pretty amazing, I must say.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like a homemade hamburger helper.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. Yeah. No, once I found the shells and cheese, like, for the longest time, I could only eat Velveeta mac and cheese.
Yes.
Like that was it. I couldn't have any other type of mac and cheese anywhere. And I got like real picky about it. Like we would go out to restaurants and if I'd order mac and cheese and they like brought me Kraft mac and cheese, I'd be like, no.
Well, I could tell you during my first marriage, we would kill an entire family size box to ourselves. She's actually lost a significant amount of weight. I'm like so proud when I've seen some of the updated photos, but like when it came to the mac and cheese, like the family size box, like there was no such thing as the smaller box. It was the family size or bust. And we were fighting over who was getting that, you know, it was never a 50-50 split. It was like a 60-40 or something like that. We were trying to fight for that extra little bit. Believe me.
Oh yeah. Oh no, trust me. I have been there. It used to be the same exact way with me and my husband. I mean, he's a little overweight too, but he's not, super bad. But with the mac and cheese, when we make dinner, like I would try and scoop as much as I could onto my plate. And then I would give him just a little bit of it.
Everybody knows that the person that makes it gets the extra bites.
Exactly. I slaved over that mac and cheese. It's mine.
I'm going to sneak like 5 bites. It's no big deal.
Oh, so many bites taken during cooking. I
know. It's like, see, and so you have like your 5 or 6 bites or whatever. And then like, you know, you bring over your husband's like, see, babe, look, this is an even split. I put the exact same amount on your plate that I put on my plate. And he had no idea that you took like 5 bites beforehand because that's just how it goes.
It's so funny because that's so true. And the same way with French fries, though. Are you like that with French fries?
Yeah, you gotta have a couple.
No. Like if I have to go pick up the food or whatever, or if I'm the one driving through to grab it, if we're like getting a quick dinner, like I'm gonna steal some of the fries and then I'm gonna give you the one I stole the fries out of.
Of course, yeah. You always give them the smaller one. Now it's harder to do at a place like Chick-fil-A. I really like them because the waffle fries are just so big that you don't get a ton in there. But like when I used to eat McDonald's, that was so easy just to steal fries and. She would catch on after a while. She's like, wait a minute. This does not look right.
Yep, he would do that. He'd be like, "Wow, they really get me on my fries," and I'm like, "Oh man."
Oh, it's
He's like,
terrible.
"Wow, they really did." I'm like, "They didn't get me on mine."
I'm sure he probably knew. Maybe he was just being nice.
Probably, because I'm also a terrible liar. I have so many tells when I'm lying. Like it's ridiculous. I can't keep anything.
Oh, same. I am the same way. My mother used to tell me that like I would lie to her and then I would somehow like start telling her the truth without realizing it. It's like, that's the worst.
That
I was going to say, speaking of the fast food, did you ever do the meal before the meal kind of thing?
you know what? I will say I was never guilty of that.
Okay. Good for you.
Yeah,
That was
one,
tough.
I somehow evaded that one, thankfully.
And for people that are listening that may not know what the meal before the meal is, so let's just say you're at the drive-through at, let's just say McDonald's, because that's always my favorite example. Wife sends me out, hey, can you get me the quarter pounder meal? And then like I'm like, okay, cool, I want the Big Mac meal. But like you're like, okay, well, I want to eat this at home with my wife or for you, my husband. But you're like, I'm really hungry right now. So, okay, I'm going to get the quarter pounder meal and a Big Mac meal. And, can you give me like 2 McDoubles and a small fry or, something like that? And then so you have a meal before you even get to the house. So that way you've settled your hunger. So you don't have to wait the 15, 20 minutes, whatever it takes to get to your house. And then you finally eat with your, significant other.
Yep. Yeah. My sister is very, very guilty of that.
Oh yeah.
I think maybe that's why I never really started doing that, because I kind of saw her doing it and saw what it was doing to her.
Yeah.
So I think maybe that's why I kind of avoided that. But luckily it's not one of the things I fell victim to.
I hear you, because that stuff is rough. And then also food sneaking. But we kind of talked about that a little bit with like sneaking the macaroni and cheese bites, because that, sneaking food, that's like a dirty game, because like, you never know when that person's going to walk in the room and see you like mid bite, and then you just like feel all this guilt rush to your head.
It is. Yep. And it's funny because my son today, it actually brought back like a wave of emotions for me, because my son today brought home his first fundraiser.
Right.
And it's that like world's finest chocolate bars.
Oh my God.
So I did those in school too. And I remember one time we got one of the boxes and I ate like half the box, and I had the wrappers hidden under my bed.
Right.
And I was so ashamed and embarrassed. And my parents were like, where did these go? Because, you're responsible for paying for those candy bars.
Yes.
And I was like, oh my gosh, a kid at school stole them from me. And I mean, it's just like a slippery slope. And my mom was in my room one day and my fan betrayed me, and like one of them popped out from under my bed.
Oh no.
And she was like, what's that? And I was like, oh, I had bought one of the candy bars. And I guess she just had this urge that she needed to get down and look.
Right. No, and you've got them all hidden there. So it's like, oh my God. Yeah,
hidden.
Exactly.
So I was very guilty of doing that, sneaking food, hiding food. I was always really ashamed of what I was eating or what I was doing. I didn't want anybody to see. So definitely guilty of that.
Now, what do you do for a living? Do you work in like an office type thing? Because I could tell you all the times where I went in the office and snuck food behind people's backs. Like, are you in that kind of environment where food's around you in like an office setting, or?
No, so I actually am just a stay-at-home mom.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. So now I'm just, and I think that's been really good for me. I don't have a lot of outside world temptations.
No, that's a hell of a hack, because here's the thing. At an office, all that food is free and it was brought in there. At home, You're just stealing food from yourself that you paid for with your money or your husband's money. So if you're going to eat a bunch of stuff at the house, you're eating your own self out of house and home, as they say.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm like, maybe I should stop. I did when I worked in a doctor's office, because, the pharmaceutical reps would always cater in these lunches.
Oh, yeah.
And I would take something and I would sneak it and I'd eat it real quick. And then I'd come back and pretend like I hadn't gotten anything. So when I worked in the doctor's office, I was really guilty of that. So
Yeah, I can identify with that. I don't have the problem anymore, but for many
Mhm.
years when my office would bring in stuff, it was just oh look at that cake. Let me go and get my third slice because I knew when everybody was back at their desk, like I knew the times to go in. It was almost like a heist. Like think like Grand Theft Auto, like those big heists you'd go on. Like that's what it was like. How am I going to
it
sneak
is,
in
and
this
it would give
kitchen?
you like a weird high too. Like,
Yeah.
yep.
Till somebody walks around the corner and they see you with a butter knife in your hand, licking the frosting that all the skinny people left off their pieces of cake.
It's like that scene in Matilda where she's making him eat the cake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty much.
Well, I will say, when you kind of got started on the journey that you're on now, like, did you have like a breaking point, like a snapping point where like, oh my God, I got to get this under control. Did you have something like that?
This current one that I'm on now, we had actually taken our kids to the aquarium,
Mm-hmm.
and my husband had snapped a picture of me and my daughter. And I actually have this post up on my Instagram, the picture that it was.
Right.
And it's me and her, and we're just like looking at one of the aquarium exhibits. And I saw that picture as I was looking through his phone on the drive home, and I just started bawling. I was like, oh my God, is that what I really look like to people? Am I that huge? And I said some really harsh and hurtful things about myself and to myself.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? That's it. I can't live like this anymore. I don't want to feel like this. I want to be able to be active with my kids. I want to eat healthier and just feel better. And that's kind of what did it for me, was that one picture.
We're clicking on so many levels here because that's what got me started, was literally one picture.
Yeah.
It's amazing how that works, right? Because I guarantee this, and again, this is our first time that we've ever been talking, but I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna bet the farm that 9 times out of 10, you take your own pictures and thought, "Damn, I'm the bomb." Like, look at this. I got my makeup done, or I got the right outfit, the hair, or whatever. Like, you took a selfie, you knew the angle, you liked the way the photo looked, and then guess what? Somebody else took that picture. I don't like it, right?
Yep, exactly. 100%.
Mm-hmm. I know what that's like too, because this is the thing too. And as a guy, and I can't believe I'm admitting this, but like, there would be the times where like you're trying to like I would spike up the hair, and like I thought like, okay, today was a good day. I had the right outfit. I had those like cool, or what I thought was cool camo shorts, the spiked hair, the right t-shirt. Like, oh man, this is awesome. And then you'd see a photo of that somebody else took, like, I hand the phone to my wife. Hey, can you get a picture of me real quick? And it just, oof, like it just
crashes you right down.
Yeah. I mean, I had this one at Dave and Buster's that she took where I was in front of this backdrop and I'm in like a 5XL shirt. And somehow I thought that I looked okay before I saw that picture. And then I saw the picture and it just, I mean, that particular picture is not what got me to get going, but I was so slowly starting to see a pattern with pictures like that.
Yep. It's funny because I have one like that too. Not the one that started me, but we had one of my nephew's baptisms, and I felt beautiful. Like I had my hair done, I had makeup on, I had bought this really pretty new dress. I thought that I looked great. And then we took a family photo, and I was like, oh my God.
Where is the untag button on Facebook? Who posted this? Who tagged me?
And there's so many photos like that I'm like, I like my friends, why would you tag me in that? And they're like, girl, you look great. I'm like, no, like take that off, delete it. And it kind of sucks now because there's so many photos that like I deleted or got rid of because I was ashamed of how I looked.
You're like, damn, I could have had all these awesome before pictures.
Man, I could have. Right? Damn you, past Danielle.
Did you ever do the thing where like, I know for the longest time I had this thing where like if somebody tagged me, I could see it and then I would approve it if I wanted to approve it or not. Did you ever do that?
Oh, you bet. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, definitely. Yeah, that's, it can be rough. So, I mean, when you decided like, hey, I'm going I'm going to make this change? Like, what was this process like for you? Because I feel like it can be a hard transition, because immediately we have all this like rush of excitement because we've realized we want to make a change. And then we start doing all this research like, okay, well, I'm going to start eating like this, or I'm going to start working out like this. There's all this rush of emotion and information, and it can be kind of overwhelming. So as you're making this transition, what was that like for you?
I can definitely say it was. I was like, you know what, I'm going to do this. And then I was like, let's start researching different workouts I can do. Let's start reaching different foods I can eat. Actually making healthy, sustainable life changes instead of the disgusting diets I had done in the past.
Yeah, the quick
that
fix
weren't sustainable. It's really overwhelming. All the information that's out there, all the things that the health industry tries to shove at you that you absolutely need if you want to get healthy.
Yeah.
And then you kind of get overwhelmed, and then you start feeling like, oh, well, can I do this? So for me, I decided small bites, Danielle, just small bites. So the first thing I started doing was I just started going for a nightly walk.
There you go.
And then I kind of would adjust one meal a day, and I would see how that made me feel. And then I was like, oh, well, let's try meal prepping. So like lately we've been doing meal prepping. So just small bites has been my course of action.
Well, and I mean, look where it's got you. So for people that want to get you on Instagram, put out your handle there real quick so people can find you.
It is at Getting Fitty with it. It's FITTYWITH, it, like getting jiggy with it, but fitty.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Because if you see me 9 times out of 10, I'm dancing to some kind of music in my head. So
right. There's a point I want to put an exclamation on here, and I want to highlight it with that bright ass marker, that proverbial invisible marker here. So people, they might come across your page and where you have your weights listed here, and they will see that, oh, she's down 27.5 pounds, almost 28 pounds. There are going to be some people, I guarantee you, that are going to think in their mind, oh, well, that's not such a large number. But I would invite these people to also click on this photo that you have, where there are 3 different pictures of you all lined up. And when they see what I can see right now, this massive difference between the girl on the far left and the girl on the far right, I mean, throw all that weight stuff out the damn window, because they're the diet industry, the fitness industry, all this one big industry. It's all bullshit. A lot of people, they try to get you fixated on that number because they want to say on their crash diet. You cannot hide pictures like this. You cannot fake pictures like this. Like, this is genuine, really awesome progress. I mean, look at that. I mean, you've seen the photo. I'm telling you, look at a photo you actually made yourself. But when you look at this from the girl on the left to the girl on the right, that is a massive difference right there.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. I took that photo that day because I stepped on the scale.
Yes.
And it hadn't moved. And I was like, but you know what? I feel good. And I was like, let me take a picture and just see if there's any changes. And when I lined those 3 up, I was like, whoa.
Yes.
Like, if you decide to take a look at my page, if you decide to come and check me out, first of all, welcome.
Yes.
I promise my whole thing here is that I will try and be as real and open with you as possible. I'm never going to try and get myself at a perfect angle when I'm taking pictures like that. And I have just, my biggest thing is I've learned that I cannot fixate on that number. It does not define who I am. It does not define what I'm doing.
Well, and it also drives me nuts when people say I only lost 27 pounds. Like, dude, that's a lot of freaking weight. That is no easy feat. And the number may not sound staggering to people, but when they look at this photo, this is undeniable. You are undeniable with this progress that you have here. This is not disputable. This is an incredible transformation in just 27 pounds. See, you notice how I reframe that? This is an amazing transformation in just 27 pounds. So imagine what happens as you keep going, the transformation that will come from it.
I love that. You know what? I love that phrasing.
Yeah. You see how I turned it around? I turned it from, well, yeah, Danielle, she's cool. I mean, but she only lost 27 pounds. No. Let's switch that up. When you look at this picture and you look at this transformation, this is what she did in just 27 pounds. So imagine her being the kick-ass lady that she is, hard working it out here, and imagine what's going to happen as she keeps going. That's how you reframe it.
Just watch and wait.
That's exactly. And that's how you got to find the positive in everything. There is positive in everything. We just have to find it. And I can look at this, and this is not even trying to find it. Like, it's right there in front of me. This is 3 different photos that accurately represents just an incredible amount of hard work and progress. And you cannot hide that stuff. You can't fake it. It's right there for everybody to see.
Yep. And the biggest thing for me is, it's not linear. It's not going to be that. Photos with a lot of up and downs in between.
Oh yeah.
That's photos with the holidays between it. We all know how the holidays can get.
Yeah. And enjoy those holidays, by the way. That's my philosophy.
Please do. Like, I'm going to eat all that turkey and mashed potatoes. It's okay.
Definitely.
I'm going to bake and it's cool. But that's also me battling my own mental health, going up and down, figuring out me and what makes me happy and what works best. Definitely.
I couldn't agree more. And I'm looking down at this, and we've almost done an hour and a half. We blew right past the hour that we initially agreed upon. So I do want to apologize if I've held you up too long. I won't hold you up much longer. But you got to promise me something, because I think what you're doing right now is totally right. But you got to promise me that even if you don't share them all, you got to take a ton more pictures, and you got to keep some of these older clothes, because as you keep going, these are going to be great benchmarks, and they're going to get to the point where you can't wear them because they just won't stay on your body, but you can hold them up and say, well, look what I did here. I mean, I still have some of my old 5X shirts, and once in a while, just for fun, I'll put them on just to see what they look like. It's pretty wild.
Yeah. I can't wait for that day. I promise I will, because when I see the photos like that, man, those blow my mind.
That's the thing too, people, and a lot of people will be like, oh, I don't want to be sharing all these photos. No, you don't have to share them. Like, keep them to yourself. By all means, find ones that you're comfortable with sharing. That's fine, but keep some for yourself, because on days where you might be having a bad mental health day, you can reference this photo and say, well, damn, I mean, look at what I've done here. Like, why am I in my own feelings about this? Look at what I've done. Look at this amazing progress.
Yes.
Like, I hope that you look at this photo of the 3 photos, and I hope that you're just like so proud of yourself that it's like sickening how proud of yourself. Like, you better be like, damn, this is amazing.
I was, and I am. Those 3 do make me proud. And you know what? That was, like I said, a rough day for me. The scale kind of hit me hard.
Yeah.
And I took that and I put those 3 there, and I was like, you know what? This is what you're working for. This feeling right here, this feeling of bettering yourself, that you can do this.
Amen.
That's what it's about.
Yeah, definitely. So getting fitty with it is where people can find you over on the gram, as they say. Definitely go follow her. Like, I'm sitting here like an hour and a half into this, and I'm just like, damn, this was an awesome conversation. Like, I'm about it. I'm like, man, you don't know what you expect, because you're getting on the phone with somebody you've never talked to. And so you don't know what to expect. Like, we've had a cool DM conversation, but it's like, I don't know how that's going to translate on the phone. And we get here an hour and a half later, look at all the ground we've covered, number 1, and look at the natural flow. I mean, this is pretty good stuff, I think.
No, definitely. And I'll tell you guys, I told him in the DMs, I was like, I'm not interested. I have nothing to talk about. And he's just over here working it out of me.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, I got an hour and a half out of you. I got an hour and a half out of you, didn't I?
You did.
I could go literally longer, but you have kids and a husband to deal with. I got a wife who's going to be like, where's my dinner? Like, we do have lives to get back to. I understand that.
I can hear my kids out there like getting frustrated, and my husband's like, "Hold on, I'm gonna feed you."
Well, Danielle, first and foremost, I really appreciate your time and everything that you shared. I really appreciate it. And I hope that you will definitely keep in touch and we'll keep the conversation going. And of course, obviously open invite to come back on anytime. And when you've got something more to share, I'd love to hear from it or just to call and shoot the breeze, whatever you want. You have my number now. Whatever it is, just keep in touch. I really enjoyed this conversation.
Oh, I definitely will, Gary. And thank you. I have to say thank you so much for inviting me to be on and helping me kind of break out of that comfort zone of mine. I enjoyed this so much, and it was such a great conversation.
Definitely. And now you're going to take all this breaking out of the shell and be even more turned up and ready to go. You're going to be ready to take on anything.
Oh, for sure.
Well, Danielle, you have a great night. And again, thank you. And we will talk very soon.
Thank you. You as well. Have a good one.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
What a fun chat with Danielle. That was awesome. Make sure you check her out on Instagram at Getting Fitty With It. It's in the show notes, of course. That's going to do it for me for this week. Again, check out patreon.com/Gary Cantrell if you're interested. If you like the show, if you want to donate a couple of bucks, I'll give you some cool perks in return. Check it out. Also, Apple Podcasts, leave a review if you could. And yeah, that's going to do it for me. Thanks for listening. I will talk to you guys again very soon.